Hello friends, meet again on our favorite channel, ICAN81. I hope you are healthy, have lots of fortune, and always be happy. This time I will review the film entitled Warriors of the Rainbow, which was released in 2011. The story of this film tells the true story of headhunters in Wuxi tragedy that occurred in 1930 in central Taiwan. Warriors of the Rainbow is the film with the highest production costs in Taiwan's history. So what is the story like? So let's prepare time to concentrate and enjoy watching. In the interior of Taiwan, there live indigenous tribes called the fingerprint people. Intertribal conflicts often occur in interior of the forest. Hunting the enemy's head is a tradition that is a matter of pride for young people. A man who succeeds in carrying the enemy's head will be given a tattoo on his forehead and chin. In this way, this man deserves to be called a true Krios. Later, in a river in the interior of Taiwan, men killed were hunting wild boars. When they were about to kill the pig suddenly, people from the Mehebu tribe immediately attacked them. Mouna Rudo, a child of the Mehebu tribe chief, immediately swam across the river. Apart from taking the heads of people she killed, Mouna also took the pigs they had hunted. However, Mouna is chased by the returning assassins. While jumping into the river, Mouna's right cheek hit a rock and was injured. But in the end, Mouna Rudo managed to escape. After this incident, the Mehebu tribe returned to their village. They crossed a clear river, walked between steep cliffs, and passed a beautiful red cherry blossom garden, until finally they arrived at the village of the Mehebu tribe. For her success in taking the enemy's head, Mouna Rudo was given a tattoo backprints on his forehead and chin. Then, in 1895, China ceded Taiwan to Japan through the Shimonoseki Agreement. Japanese military officials saw the ferocious natives as an obstacle to exploiting Taiwan's resources. Meanwhile, Mouna and her father are hunting. Mouna said that last night she dreamed of getting a deer. Suddenly, they saw a sisine bird, which was thought to be the bearer of baby news. Then, Mouna was allowed by her father to hunt deer for the wedding celebration. On the other hand, the Japanese army began colonization of Taiwan. The civilian resistance was defeated very easily. Long story short, the Japanese succeeded in conquering the city of Wuxi and eliminating the city's residents opposed. Meanwhile, in the depths of the forest, Mouna Rudo managed to get the deer in her dream. Mouna is known to be brave but very rude and does not hesitate to injure anyone who precedes her while hunting. Next, Mouna's wedding party was held. The residents of Mehebu rejoiced while drinking wine millet. Then, in the town of Wuxi, the Japanese began to clear out local resistance. They arrested and executed anyone who dared to resist. Later, at a mainland Chinese grocery store outside Mount Kilai, Mouna brought yuan skins to barter for salt. They transact even though they don't understand each other's language. Not long after Sukutoda's group arrived to want to make a transaction. Sukutoda is an enemy of the Mehebu tribe. The traitor warned Mouna not to make a fuss. Then Mouna started looking for trouble by insulting Sukutoda's luggage. A teenager named Tamu Wallace threatens Mouna Rudo to kill him when he grows up. Mouna threatened the guardian guest and then left. Then on the way home, Sukutoda started realizing that someone was stalking them. While aiming at Tamuwalis, a young man from the Mehebu tribe blocked Mouna Rudo until he was shot. Mouna warned the young man not to go ahead of her while studying.
Dan mendahuluinya saat berburu.
On the other hand, Japan hired inland tribesmen to take them to the Kilai Mountain. The group of soldiers left at noon. Then in the evening, they rested in the cherry blossom garden. In the afternoon, they realized that the cherry blossoms in that place were very beautiful. But not long after, the soldiers were killed by the inland tribesmen. Due to this incident, Japan blocked Nosy. The Japanese army expelled traders and prohibited them from transacting with inland. Then, Japan sent a large army into the Pugun Kilai hinterland. They passed the way between two steep cliffs. Without them realizing it, the inland tribesmen were stalking them from the top of the cliff. As a result, Japanese soldiers were pelted with large stones. The soldiers who were running were finished off by the Mehebu tribe. Mouna Rudo is clever with her head when attacking the Not yet at their wits' end, the Japanese army hired people to kill the Mehebu tribe. Then on top of the mountain, Mouna Rudo and his troops encountered a murderous man. They made peace because they faced the same enemy, namely the Japanese army. Finally, they drank millet wine until they were drunk. Without even realizing it, leader the killed tribe were the people they used to attack while hunting. That night, the two tribes were so drunk that they fell asleep. However, the kill guys got up first and readied their weapons. Then the people killed began to harvest the sleeping Mehebu chief. The fleeing Mehebu tribe was chased into the forest. Luckily, Mouna Rudo survived the attack. After they had finished slaughtering their own brothers, the people killed partied with the Japanese soldiers. In the following year, Japan went further inland to Wushil. At the same time, the villages of the Mehebu tribe are being destroyed.
Mena seno ini angan pun setiap bab balik kayam.
The leader of the Mehebu tribe ran around during Japan took out a grenade. That time, the Mehebu tribe learned about grenades for the first time. Rudo, Mona's father, was shot at the Mehebu tribe. After the battle, Mouna carried her father sparkling miles back to the village. However, when she arrived at the village, Mona's hopes were instantly dashed. Houses had been destroyed, and Japanese flags had flown across the city. Not long after that, Mona's father died. Then, Mouna and the remaining fighters were arrested. Mouna Rudo handed over 2 sacks of skull heads that she had. However, the Japanese soldiers insulted him until they fought.
Setelah itu, Mouna ditangkap.
After that, Mouna was arrested and sent to Japan to witness the progress of military technology in that country. After 20 years have passed, the youth inland tribes now work as loggers in their own forests.
Mereka sendiri.
They traveled many kilometers to deliver the wood to Wuxia City. Wuxia City has now been completely controlled by Japan. The young men of the interior tribes were given a meager wage for their wood. A well-known Chinese merchant gave free millet wine to the resting youths.
Sedang beristirahat.
The youth inland tribes were increasingly fed up with Japanese treatment. They were paid cheaply for wood from their own forests. In fact, Japan cut down trees that were considered sacred by inland tribes. Not long after, a Japanese policeman named Jiro passed by. Jiro is one of the natives who was given an education by the Japanese. Jiro lives with Japanese culture in Wuxia City. It didn't take long for the young men from the inland tribes to tease Jiro. Meanwhile, women from inland tribes worked as servants in Japanese homes. Why so stupid? Even though he has become a policeman, Jiro is still called a savage by the Japanese. Savage is the term for local residents. Later, at a school, Dakis, a local resident who became a police officer, is teaching language to interior tribal children. Not long after, Dakis came home to see his wife, who was in labor. Meanwhile, in the depths of the forest, two Mouna Rudo children, namely Tadomona and her sister Basomona, started dancing when they saw a rainbow in the sky. Later, in the village of Mehebu, the now gray-haired Mouna Rudo enjoys tobacco while thinking about the future of their forest. Mouna is now the chief of the Mehebu tribe. His courage when he was young was still a cave of his lips. In the village, not long after, a teenager named Pawan approached him. Mouna gives a glass of millet wine to Pawan. Pawan complains about the unfair treatment of Japanese teachers. In the interior, tribal children then, Pawan again drank a glass of millet wine permission. Before long, Pawan wanted to drink another glass of wine. However, Mouna snatches it. After seeing a rainbow, Mouna finishes her millet wine and decides to go hunting. Meanwhile, Pawan gets drunk and falls down. Next, in Wood Warehouse, Pihu, a young man from an inland tribe, was scolded by Yoshimura because the wood they brought was damaged. Even though Pihu explained that his friends slipped while carrying him, Yoshimura didn't want to understand and instead got even angrier. And suddenly, Mouna dropped Yoshimura. Mouna, want me to explain? The fight only stopped after Mouna mentioned the young man, Mahobu, to go home. However, Yoshimura would not pay for their wood. A few days later, Tado and Baso borrowed their weapons confiscated by the Japanese. Like their father, Tado and Baso are tough young men from the Mehabu tribe.
Dari suku Mehebu.
Next, they hunted deer in preparation for the wedding party. But suddenly, Pawan appeared and chased the deer, who jumped into the river. The area is a hunting ground for the Mehabu tribe. But then, Mouna heard gunshots. It turned out that the shot came from the rifle of Temu Wallace, a young man from the Toda tribe who had previously threatened him. Kojima, a Japanese policeman, explained that he asked Temu Wallace to take him hunting in that area. Innocently, a Japanese boy said that this area was under Japanese control. Then, before leaving, Tadomona threatened to destroy the Toda tribe. Then, Watan Robo's wedding party was held. Mouna allowed Watan to bring a cow to eat together. Meanwhile, Mouna continued collecting mesiu from matchsticks, which she had been doing for years. Then, Tado took possession of the hunt and called him the governor of Japan. Unexpectedly, Yoshimura heard these words. Then, Tado took a glass of wine to drink, welcomed Yoshimura, but Yoshimura was angry because his uniform was dirty. Finally, a dispute occurred. As a result, Yoshimura was beaten by a Mehebu youth who was very angry with him. Not long after, Mouna came out and kicked her 2 children who wanted to kill Yoshimura. Then, Sugira helped Yoshimura away. Yoshimura threatens to wipe out the Mehebu tribe. At the same time, Mouna scolded the youth because of this incident. The next day, Mouna, Tado, and Baso came to Yoshimura's office, bringing a jug of wine as an apology. But Yoshimura has reported the incident and rejected their apology. On the other hand, Jiro and Daki chat after practice. They really admire Mouna Rudo. They were well aware that, as native Wushil people, they would still be considered savages by the Japanese. This will remain true even if they have lived with Japanese culture to the fullest. Meanwhile, at home, Tado and Baso ask Mouna for permission to fight the Japanese. However, both of them were beaten by Mouna. Next, Tado crossed the bridge and met the Japanese governor. Tado Mouna can no longer hide her hatred for peddlers Japan.
Pada penjajah Jepang.
On the other hand, after beating her child, Mouna smokes tobacco by the river. Suddenly, a voice called him out of nowhere, and it turns out it was the voice of Rudo's dead father. Rudo seemed to awaken Mona's enthusiasm to turn into a ballet character or a real man. He reminded Mouna that ballet characters should not be afraid. Then, Rudo invited Mouna to sing. When Mouna wanted to touch her father, his father suddenly walked towards the rainbow and disappeared under the waterfall. That evening, the young men of the Mehebu tribe discussed Japan's outrageous treatment. Massacre in the village, they are still clearly recorded in memory. Pihu says they can't defeat Japan by killing just one person. For that, they have to finish them all off. Then the next day, the young men persuaded the Mouna tribal chief to fight back. Mouna has seen for herself Japan's strength and weapons sophisticated, reminding the youth that their tribe could be wiped out without a trace left by the Japanese. However, this did not dampen the enthusiasm of the Mehebu youth. They would rather die with honor than live in disgrace. Finally, Mouna took out Messihu's savings that she had accumulated over the years. Then, Mouna suspects Pihu and several youths of inviting 12 other tribes in the attack plan. Furthermore, Pihu enthusiastically spread the plan to other tribal chiefs. However, some tribal chiefs refused to go along with it. They feared their lineage would be wiped out by Japan. Even though Pihu persuaded him, the chief still refused. Before October 27th, Mehebu youths began scouting preparations at Wushil. They mapped out the exact timing and possible escape routes used by the Japanese. Seeing the Mehebu youths approaching the city, Dakis became suspicious and immediately went to Mouna. In a hurry, Dakis ran to Mouna Rudo's house. Dakis reminds Mouna that Japan is very strong. Fighting them will only make the youth die in vain. Dakis's words made Mouna very angry. Mouna reminded Dakis that Seediq Bale would rather die as a real man than live as an oppressed man. But in the end, Dakis informed Mouna that there were 130 guns at the celebration. Dakis and Jiro will be on duty and support them. Next, Pihu reported angrily that some of the tribal chiefs had refused the invitation. Because of her impolite attitude, Mouna squeezes Pihu's balls until he goes limp. Jiro prepares Adek's clothes, Mehebu to be taken to work the next day. Meanwhile, Mouna draws war on the hill as a request for support from her ancestors. That evening, on October 26, Tadu Basu and the Mehebu youths cleaned out the Japanese police stations in each tribe. The youths sang war songs while burning the Japanese defense police post, Chief Mouna tribe. Split two teams of tribal troops to cut off Japanese communications. Then, Mouna visited the young men of the Gungu tribe who were prohibited from traveling by their tribal chief. Mouna scolds Dado, the chief of the Gungu tribe. Mouna says Dado has removed the fingerprint tattoo on his forehead and chin. Hearing Mona's words, the Gungu tribe finally joined. Then, when morning arrived, Wushu City was filled with fog that was thicker than usual. The ballet boys wore white uniforms that were very well camouflaged. Previously, Mouna gave a speech to the youth to fuel their enthusiasm. At the same time, Pawan was slapped by the Japanese teacher for changing ranks. Akish and Jiro have prepared their traditional clothes in case an attack occurs. At that time, the entire Wushu population found the youth. Wushu gathered at the Sports Week event. Then, Japan started the event by singing the national anthem while raising the flag. Ironically, the flag bearers were children of an inland tribe. At the same time, a young man from an inland tribe infiltrated and beheaded a Japanese soldier. Then slowly he took the head and ran away. Of course, the Japanese soldiers chased him, but in the end, the Japanese soldiers were killed silently in a garden. Then, Basamuna added a rifle as a command to start the evacuation. Without mercy, the youth of the interior tribes massacred all the Japanese, including women and children. Instantly, the situation changed, greatly gripping. Dakish immediately covered his wife in traditional clothes. A group of Japanese women hide in a warehouse. However, they are known to people in the interior. The fleeing Japanese soldiers were awaited by Tadam Una on a street. However, there was one Japanese soldier who managed to escape. Most of the young men were harvesting at that time life in their own way. In their eyes, a Japanese head was a trophy to be earned. The young men of the Mehebu tribe took 130 weapons from the Japanese warehouse. Meanwhile, inside the school, the women and children who were hiding were promised a prosperous life in their ancestral home by being killed. On the other hand, Kojima, who is in the Toda tribe, is not yet aware of the attack on Wushil. Mouna ordered a young man to preach the sacrifices of his ancestors to the guardian meeting. Meanwhile, Jiro is busy looking for his wife, who is still wearing a kimono. Jiro's wife is the daughter of the chief of the Dado tribe. Luckily, Jiro's wife was still safe in the warehouse. After the incident, the bodies of Japanese people lay headless in the town of Wushil. Then, Mouna left sitting under the flagpole and remembering his ancestors. With the end of the attack, the story is finished. In the Wushil incident, 132 Japanese were killed, and 2 natives died because of their clothing. We all know that natural laws have not changed since ancient times. What you sow, that you will reap. May we always be sow goodness, so that we can enjoy the fruit of that goodness. Finally, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Keep the spirit. Friends and greetings.